The 3-2 final score, game one going to Sid the Kid and the Pens over Ovi and the Capitals. Let's get right to the play of the game. What was the turning point or the play of the game in your eyes?
I have to go to Nick Bonino on this one. It's the game-winning goal, and it's Nick Bonino after all, right? The game-winning goal, it has to be that one for me, just because this team, this game is deadlocked, and the way that the Pittsburgh Penguins ended up, you had the Stars going one-on-one against each other. Sidney Crosby and Ovechkin traded some goals, and essentially that goal speaks volumes to me, because if you look at how it came about, you had a depth player like Nick Bonino score that goal. That's kind of what's going to decide the series. We've seen that the Crosbys and the Malkins of the world can score. We've seen that Alexander Ovechkin's a point per game player in his playoffs career. So it's going to be these other lines that are going to really decide the series. The rest of the guys have shown us that they show up to these big occasions. So I think the fact that Bonino scored in this one kind of dictates and sets the tone, and we'll have to see what happens in the next game, right? This is where guys like Tom Wilson and the Yevgeny Kuznetsovs and the Marcus Johanssons are going to have to show up for Washington.
Let's break down the game within the game a little bit more. You mentioned Sid the Kid versus Ovi, obviously trading goals, but what specifically stood out to you between the two of them?
Just watching this game, you see that there's obviously a friendly competition here. They've had this rivalry for a number of years, and it's not as, if you look at Crosby's rivalries with other players or Ovechkin's, it's not as chippy as between them, but they make an effort to kind of go after each other and offensively in this. And I think what really stood out for me is just making sure that there was a response, because that game could have been a little ugly if the Capitals really it kept on going the way of the Penguins. So I think the fact that the Capitals fought back and made a real game of it, and they really should have in a lot of ways won that game with the amount of pressure that they put on the pucks on the net. So if I'm thinking, I just love the way that Ovechkin answered back. So it sets up a great second game as well, because you have if you look at their head-to-head stats, Ovechkin's got more points in the games against Pittsburgh. He's got 22 in his career, whereas Crosby's got 17. So I think just that fact that on every shift they're challenging each other is great to see for hockey. And the fact that this has been going on for a decade plus now, so it doesn't seem to stop, and they both seem to be getting better in a lot of ways.
All right, it's only one game, but what did you see from last night's game that would give Capitals fans confidence that their team can come all the way back?
For me, I think a couple of things. You saw the Ovechkin and the Kuznetsov score, so I think having those first two lines scoring is very important. So that's the starting point. Second thing, it's a negative and a positive at the same time. The Capitals didn't get any power play, so I think if you're getting more penalties called in the next couple of games, this power play in the Toronto series showed that it's a really good power play, and they will score. So I think the fact of the matter is, and the team let it be known that there weren't any penalties called in their favor. So I think you might have a little bit of a balance out as these things work out sometimes. So if I'm the Capitals, I'm feeling good that there was a bit of a fight back in that game. If you're looking at the shot total, it was in Capitals' favor. It's just a matter of finishing those chances. So if I had to look at it, I think those two or three things make me feel good if I'm a Caps fan, because your team's doing all those things right. It's just a matter of being to finish those chances is the most important thing.